Wemden zamden kesm buwem komar wazat san doi we sinyon patkuya nyamo hutra yin. We need to be very, very careful, especially when we lose our identity. There won't be no more services for us. Well, just like the non-Indian out there.
So thank you for joining me. My name is Lena, and I'm from the Fort Yuma tribe, and your host on the Rezzilient podcast. Today I'm here with Melinda Williamson, owner of Morning Light Kombucha.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be visiting with you today.
With this, your kombucha. So that is that your hobby, or did you turn it into your full time?
So I work part-time for our language department, and that is my main source of income. I won't even say that my kombucha business was ever a hobby business. I definitely my goal is to be able to eventually have it be my sole source of income, but it's really difficult because the work that that I do at the language department and the things I'm learning, and it's just so important that it's hard to ever even imagine walking away from such an important job. And so I'm going to try to swing it because technically I could quit and be, just do my job, my business full time, but I just can't. I can't do it yet.
Can't leave the program. No, I totally understand. I mean, with languages dying out, I just found out recently that our tribe has literally 50 fluent speakers in our tribe alone. And I'm sorry, which tribe were you from?
So I'm Prairie Band Potawatomi.
That's awesome. And then as far as the language, how long have you been a part of the language program, and do you speak fluent?
No. I've been there for about 2.5 years. My grandparents were both fluent speakers. But no, I'm just a student, really. I work as the administrative assistant, but we all go in and teach and in the schools. We're in the elementary schools. This year we'll be in the middle school. We have teen class, adult class, and then we also work in our child care. I'm just learning just like everybody else. We just got funding, so we're able to get 2 apprentices, but there originally was 6 of us. The director of the program, Soggy LeClaire, she is amazing, and she's been really working hard to try to grow the program as best as she can, because we only have 1 fluent speaker. There's several bands of Potawatomis in the U.S. and Canada, and so we try to collaborate with the other bands of Potawatomis to their language departments to just keep learning from each other and getting ideas to expand our programs so we can reach more people and teach language.
Wow, you're doing the work. You're doing really good work, especially for yourself and for the people. So I really commend you on that. That's a pretty awesome position that you are in. And as far as you're saying, like you really don't want to leave it yet, because, where would we be, or where will we be if our language totally dies out? I mean, if you think about it, in history, all they've tried to do is socially and culturally, get rid of us, and our language is our biggest.
It's our identity. Our language. It's hard. It's a hard language to learn, and so I know words, and I'm slowly learning sentences and things, but it's really been helping actually with the apprentices coming on board just in the past couple of months, because like our language specialists, and I guess these new ones would be called like level 1 apprentices, and our level 2 apprentices who have been, they're trying to work on being fluent. They're kind of starting them from the beginning, which is really nice, because I can sit in with them and start learning word pieces, and not just trying to jump in on classes and trying to put it together, or listen to them when they're doing translations where it's a little more advanced. Now I can I can sit in and kind of start from the very beginning, and it's just coming together, it's clicking, and I'm really enjoying having that kind of I guess learning environment. It's changed quite a bit since the new apprentices have started. So I'm really excited about where we are and where we're going in the department. So
How cool to be a part of that. Do you ever
yeah.
remember, like when you were growing up, your grandparents speaking it to you at all?
Yeah, I do. I was never like talking all the time. My dad wasn't. I mean, they would all say words in Potawatomi, but not like when my grandparents would get together, would they'd get with their friends and they'd just be talking. It wasn't like, I guess, my grandpa, he would go out and he'd teach the language, but he never really used it all the time in the home, or like expected his kids to speak it with them all the time, and be fluent speakers. But I tried, once I got a little bit older, I did sit down with him and try to learn as much as I could. But it's only since I've been in the language department that I've really started how complex the language actually is. And so, but it's been really good, and definitely not wanting to leave that position. So that's why when I was talking with you earlier, and I'm just working, till midnight sometimes, just trying to get on top of things with the business. And I know eventually it'll slow down, but we were just in Canada a couple weeks ago for our Potawatomi gathering. And so I was gone for 8 days, and it's definitely hard to leave a business for that long. And so I've just been playing catch up. But normally I wouldn't be working that late.
Let's talk about Morning Light Kombucha. Like, WTF is kombucha? What is it? Where does it come from? And why are we drinking it?
So kombucha it's a fermented tea. I start off with like a really sweet tea, which sounds like it's going to be high in sugar, but during fermentation, most of that sugar is consumed, and it's actually low in sugar, but it's got a lot of probiotics. It's got organic acids that help with different kinds of health issues like inflammation, and the probiotics are helping with your gut health. And as a lot of us know, our gut is the source of just everything. Kind of stems in, if you have a healthy gut, then you start to have a healthy body. Yeah, I mean, it just
skin.
Yeah, I can't like find my words right now, but
what made you, or when was the first time that you've ever tasted kombucha?
So I worked in academia for years. I did research at Oklahoma State University, and I had one of my students come in, and she's like, "You have to taste this. This is like a new, like this really good drink, and it's fermented." And I'm like, "What?" And I tasted it.
Beer?
I know. Yeah, she comes in the
In
lab.
school?
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what is this? And I tasted it, and it was like a shock to your taste buds. And it was like fizzy and sour. And I mean, never in my life had I experienced anything like that. And it was incredible. And I was hooked. And it just so happened around that same time, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune illness, and they were just like, "We don't know what it is." I wasn't testing positive for lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or some of like the really common ones that they could test for directly at the time. And so they're like, "You're going to be on medication for the rest of your life, and you may never know what's wrong with you." And I was like, "What? No, this can't be it. I have,
here's all these
like,
pills, pump them into your body,
exactly,
and
yeah,
then
and
call it a
it makes
day.
you blind." Yeah, that's what they're like. "This is a pill, and you take it every day, but you have to get your eye exams twice a year because it could make you go blind at some point." And I'm like, "What the hell's going on here? This can't. There's no way. There's no way." And
And then
so,
here's this pill because you're going to have a headache when you go blind. And then
yeah,
after you go
yeah,
blind,
I
you got to
know.
take this to combat that. Gosh,
Exactly. It was
pharmaceutical is just horrible these days.
oh yeah, it was. It was so scary. And so I'm like, there's got to be ways that I can heal with food. And I always had eaten for the most part pretty good. And so I started to look at ways to heal naturally, ways to heal with food. I mean, I honestly had never even really heard of an autoimmune illness. I'm just like, what is
What
this? And
is that?
yeah, and I was having at the time, my symptoms were hair loss and extreme fatigue. And, I was really active, and there was a point in time where I had to have assistance to walk, and I mean, that's how
That's how bad it
tired and
got?
fatigued. Yeah. And so
Wow.
anyhow, I I started reading about like healing your gut and leaky gut syndrome, and just how you have these intolerances to food, but you consume them so much that your body kind of gets used to them to a certain extent, but they're causing this inflammation in your body, and your body's attacking itself, and all this kind of stuff. So I kept reading about getting your gut in kind of back into balance. And so just
So then you
eating
had a
more
taste
food.
of what the woman
Yeah,
or your friend brought in.
that was kind of, I kept reading about fermented foods, and I kept reading about kombucha, and it had crossed like in my reading, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know where you'd get it, and it was just one of like the many things I kept reading about. And so
Yeah.
when she brought it in, I'm like, oh my God, this
What
is
is
what I've been
this?
reading
Uh-huh.
about. And so anyhow, I just started drinking it. I tried, but it was so expensive. It was like $6 a bottle back then, because this was
Yeah,
10
it's like
years
$4 to
ago.
$6 now. It's still
Yeah,
too.
it's so expensive. And so I just changed my diet. I started drinking kombucha. I started eating more fermented foods. I started feeling better, and I've actually, for almost 10 years, I've been able to keep my autoimmune illness in check. And so
So it's like dormant right now,
kind of, yeah, like
technically, or is it all the way gone, do you think?
no, it's definitely not all the way gone, but my levels are down into definitely not a normal range, but like a low, like low levels of my ANAs are, I mean, there's still the presence of an autoimmune illness, and I still get
Mhm.
symptoms and things like that, but it really just came to like really listening to your body. And it was also around that same time that I was kind of, it wasn't that I was unhappy with my job. It was that I was really kind of missing home and wanting to move back. And I guess I was kind of wanting a little bit of a change. And I started looking back at like, what have I always wanted to do,
Mhm.
and own my own business was something I'd wanted to do since I was a teenager. And I thought, man, kombucha actually wasn't on the forefront of my mind. Green smoothies were something that really helped me in my healing.
Okay.
Um, and so I had seen a huge difference in my health with introducing green smoothies for my daughter and I both. And so I'm like, no one's doing this, in Kansas. I have to do like a green smoothie truck. And so I started saving my money. I got my master's degree. Like I made this huge, this 5-year plan, and it
Oh, wow.
included going back to school, saving every penny, and taking little business classes here and there. And so that's what I did. And I eventually moved home and got a job with the diabetes program, which is totally different from what I had been doing and what I went to school for. But
What did you
um,
go to school for?
well, I got my bachelor's in natural history biology, and during that time, I was doing research in behavioral ecology, looking at reptile behavior, mostly lizards. That was what I did a lot of, is researching. microbial communities in grasslands, and then below ground like structures of the grasses. And it sounds boring, but it was really fun.
No, totally. I mean, I love nerdy things. So
Yeah.
yeah, if I knew what that was, then
Yeah.
I would totally be into it.
Yeah.
Well, when I first encountered kombucha, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty hungover and I had to be at work for an 8-hour shift. My head was pounding. I thought I was going to die, but I was alive.
Yeah.
And I went to our little store in our in our cafeteria at my job. So I was looking and I was looking. I was like, "There's no coconut water. There's regular water. I'm probably gonna throw up. I don't know what I'm going to do." And then I came across like this little glass bottle, whatever. And I've always heard of people like people. Actually, I've seen people walking around with that bottle. So I was always interested in what it was. Anyways, I think it was by Kavita. So started reading it, and I started reading like everything that was on the labels, and it all sounded so great and amazing. And then at the bottom it said like it was like a smidge, like 0.2% or whatever it is of alcohol. And I thought, wow, well, I need the hair of the dog right now. It's so horrible, I know, right? So I'm gonna grab 2 of these.
Like, I'll take it. Yeah.
Right here, sign me up, hand raised, pick me.
Yeah.
So I grabbed it and I took them back to my desk. So I Googled it, and it said that it was made with like bacteria and yeast and whatnot, and basically, beer was what I was thinking in my head. So, and then I opened it up. It had like a little fizzy, pop to it. And then, so it kind of tasted alcoholic-y and vinegary.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't bad, and it actually made me feel better. I don't know if it was because of the mix of the water and everything else I was drinking and whatnot, but it did, yeah, like you said, it tasted great. Kind of weird, still kind of weird every time I drink it. But then after that, I just started like getting like different flavors, looking up different brands, and boom, like I was hooked. And then I came across your page not too long ago. It said that you're a native, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta follow her.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is amazing. She's doing the work in Indian country. She's got her own business, so she's a badass over here. And yeah, so and then I started seeing like different posts that you had made where you had like a tap, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I seen you had growlers, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wish you could send me some, but. Yeah, so that's what I knew of, and that's how I got into kombucha. But my question is fermented tea. Is white tea, green tea? Like what kind of tea do you use? Like what's the process?
So basically I have 2 bases, and one of it's like I call it's primary fermentation. So in my primary fermenters, I have one that is a blend of black and green tea. And the black tea is like a Assam, and the green tea is a Sencha. And then I have, in that one, I use for some of like my heartier flavors, like stuff that really comes through like apple or something, pears or something like that. But I did a green tea base with just the sencha tea. In that one, it has a lot more of a delicate flavor, so I can pair it with really light flavors like raspberries or blackberry, stuff that doesn't come through, that can be overpowered from the black tea. And so that's kind of how, those are the 2 kinds of teas that I use. And sometimes I'll do like a herbal tea. So I've done like a strawberry green tea. Okay. And so that was pretty good too. So I experiment a little bit with teas, but I really have my tried and true like base teas, that I use. And basically like I kind of said earlier, I just make a really strong sweet tea. I add it to the fermenter that already has a little bit of mature kombucha, and it ferments around 4 weeks or so. And then when it's ready, I transfer it to a second fermenter, and then I flavor it. And one of the things that we do, that our company does, is works with local organic farmers. So we source, I would say, about 80% or so of all of our ingredients come from local farmers. And so we have like a strawberry rhubarb, and we go out and harvest. We'll go harvest a lot of the stuff from the farms ourselves, but then we also go out and wild harvest stuff. So we've gone out and harvested gooseberries and choke cherries and wild raspberries and just different things like that, whatever's in season, mulberries, and then we'll offer those. But we do about 100 flavors a year. And
oh, wow.
So
that's a lot.
It is. And it's just so much fun to be creative. And we always tell people, just start off like a couple of ounces
at home
in the beginning, at home, preferably. That was I mean, I won't go into detail, but I had that cleansing effect the first time I downed a bottle. And so, but that's, some people have issues where they need to have it to be even regular, and so it's just, I mean, there's just so many things. I mean, I was using it for inflammation. I was using it to try to get my gut back in balance and repopulate it with good bacteria. And I saw digestive issues kind of being taken care of. And I have people who come that are like, I've had colitis and I have Crohn's disease, and this has been the only thing that gives me relief and helps me with digesting my food. And I've had people that have said that that's helping with their acne. I mean, it's just crazy. Or,
overall, like
yeah,
good, healthy type of natural medicine for your body.
Exactly.
Basically, that's what it sounds like. I read in Newsweek, it was saying that it could get rid of cellulite. So I was already sold. T cell count, obviously your gut health, clear skin, turning gray hairs black, like all of this. Are those true? Any truth to that? Is there any myths? Because supposedly, I mean, there's really no scientific benefits of kombucha that they've found, as far as I've read. I mean, what do you know?
So, it's really true. I mean, there has been several studies done on rats and, rodents, things like that. And they've seen, levels like diabetic rats, their sugar levels stabilize, and there's just different things, but there's not really any human studies where they're actually able to find these things going on. And so that's the difficult thing with kombucha. And I kind of stick with the facts. You've got your good bacteria, it's populating the gut with good bacteria, and you start to see digestive changes that are, positive. Those are fact. But as for like curing cancer or
Which
even
is a
weight
common
loss,
myth,
yeah, and those kinds of things, I can't make any kinds of claims. Like turning your hair from white to black, I don't know. Yeah, cellulite. It does not. I drink it
so
every day.
found that. Yeah, so I found that out the hard way.
Unfortunately, I wish. But and I tell people they've come to me and said they've lost weight, and and that's been some things about weight loss in kombucha. And I said, what I think is that when you start to heal your gut, you start to feel better in all kinds of ways. Your mental health gets better. You feel better. You have more energy. You're not so lethargic. And sometimes when you're feeling better, you make healthier choices. You become more active. And I think that it's not the kombucha itself. It's just that what it's helping you. It's helping you
training our minds.
Yeah. And so you start to be more active, make healthier choices, and it's just kind of a catalyst, but it's not the reason, necessarily. It's not the actual kombucha that's making you lose weight. But yeah, there's a lot of
jumpstart. Yeah.
There's just, I don't know about most of those. We try in the kombucha industry, we try not to make any like grandiose claims, to that it does this. And I kind of tell people what I've been told. I know with my autoimmune illness, and I try to like clarify too, because I was on the news the other day. They did an interview and she made it seem like she kind of twisted my words a little bit or it just made it seem like kombucha was the reason that I, was the 100% thing that helped me
you're
heal.
cured from your autoimmune. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I just had to clarify, like, it was just one of the many things that I had to change to find that healing, having a business like this allows me to be able to talk to people, encourage people to start really getting in tune with your body and listening to your body and making changes based on how you're
what
feeling.
What your body's
Yeah,
telling
what your
you.
body's telling you. Yeah. And I think when we do that, then, there's no one size fits all kind of like cookie cutter, like prescription for all these diseases and things that we have going on. And so you really have to find what works for you specifically. And so it's one of the things I really enjoy with my business is being able to talk about that kind of thing.
Yeah, because, and like you said it perfectly, most people say, like, oh, if you get a gym membership in January for your New Year's resolution, that's going to make me skinny. Well, honey, it's not, because you're going to go for 2 weeks and then you're going to end up paying for that for an entire year and not even go ever again. So the gym is not going to make you skinny or healthy or stronger. Not at all. Kombucha is not going to make you healthy, stronger. I mean, it's leading up to that. And the same thing like with yoga. I used to do yoga a lot. And I found that I was making healthier choices back then as well. And the weight started just like melting off and whatnot. But it was because I was actually paying attention to what I was eating, how many times I was going out and exercising, what else was I doing at that point in time. So it's not these items, not these products or anything. It's just you're listening to your bodies. So you had your 5-year plan.
So I had my 5-year plan, yeah. And I pretty much came back with the intention of starting a food truck business. But I knew that I wanted kombucha on my food truck. And so I got a SCOBY. That's what the starter, like that's what they call it, like the mother, but it's the kind of
what makes
cellulose.
It all come together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Looks and like so I got a big ugly blob.
Yeah, exactly. It's not attractive.
Not attractive at all.
Yeah, but it's where it helps the magic go on in the fermenters. But so I got a starter. I started brewing. And in the meantime, I'm still going out, like contacting kombucha companies. Like, how can I get kegs here? Like, I want your kombucha on tap. And I hadn't even tasted any of these people's kombucha. I just knew that I wanted it. And so.
And that was in your truck? Like you actually bought a truck?
No, I was like doing a business plan and figuring out like how much I was.
Was it just you alone, or did you have a partner that was helping you just by yourself? So you're doing all the research by yourself in your 5-year plan. You're looking for a green machine that you wanted to serve kombucha in.
Right, exactly. It was just in the meantime, I'm brewing my kombucha. It's getting out of control, and my brothers are drinking it, and they start sharing it with their friends, and they're like, our friends want to buy this, like, how can they get this? And I thought, oh my God,
how am I going to do this? Everyone bring me a mason jar right now.
Yeah. I was like, I started looking, I'm like, how much would it cost me to start a kombucha business? And so I kind of did the math and I wrote it all. I could use all my startup money to do that, because we're talking like $5,000 as opposed to like $50,000 to get a food truck and get the license.
Those food trucks are expensive.
They're so damn expensive. So I was like, I'm just going to start a kombucha business and save my money and eventually do my food truck. And so it's kind of like everything switched gears. I actually already had like my LLC name, like I had all this stuff and I had to just change it at the last second. And because I was like, no, I need this. I need to start. This is the business, And so I did.
So what did you start off? What was your?
So my initial name was Sprouted, which was like the most ridiculous name, because now that I'm in business, there's like 5 different Sprouted companies here in Topeka.
It's okay, we all make mistakes.
I mean, it was like, I didn't research that well enough, but I just had this vision. Yeah, I was walking with my friend and I'm like, I have to come up with a better name. Like for this kombucha. And, and I was thinking, like, what has kombucha done for me? Like, I think that it's been one of the things that's really changed my life and kept thinking, like, in the mornings when we wake up and, where it, like the start of a new day is the time to make a change in your life, And so somehow just kind of, I started thinking about morning time and morning light and prayer. And so it just
Yeah, I
kind
can
of,
totally see it right now. I'm right there with you, sipping my kombucha,
yeah,
meditating in the morning while the sun is rising.
you're right.
I'm right
And I
there with
was,
you.
yeah. So I'm like, this every day is a new day to make some kind of change. And kombucha could just be one small change in people's life that could actually really make a difference. And I think that was, one of the foundations of my business. Whatever I had decided to do, I knew that I wanted to help in some way, like make a difference in someone's life and someone's health. And so I just, I just thought it was a really good fit. And so I just applied for the license and no one else had it. And so it was perfect. It was meant to be. So that was kind of the story behind it. Yeah. So then I just fucking started by the seat of my pants. Like I had no clue what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to keg, but I knew that whatever I was going to do, I didn't want to pre-bottle. I don't want to I wanted sustainability to be also like one of my foundational values, like offering a product that isn't going to contribute to waste in our communities. And so I only wanted to do have refill stations. And so you just purchase your bottle, you fill it up, you bring it back. When we're at the farmer's market, we'll fill
And
other
like people
people's
exchange it out,
bottles.
or do we keep
No,
the same one?
you keep the same one. You clean it yourself and
Okay.
you bring it back and we fill it up. And if you have other people's bottles, bring them and we'll fill them up. And just trying to get the conversation started about recycling and reusing. And
Now, pre-bottle, like what do you mean by that? Explain that to
so,
us.
when you go into the store and you have all these bottles and you just grab one and those are all pre-packaged bottles. We don't do
Would those
anything
last
like
longer? Would those last longer than your kombucha? Like, do those have more preservatives or any preservatives?
no,
Do you,
no, not necessarily. There's kind of two reasons. One is most people go and they buy those bottles and then they throw them away. And I don't know
right.
about in Phoenix, but here there's no, like on our reservation, there's no glass recycling. So all that glass just goes into the trash. And in Topeka, which is the next town, I don't know if they do glass recycling or not.
They have a lot of recycling bins along the way wherever you are.
Yeah, see, and we're behind. Anywhere in the Midwest, we're just way behind everybody else. And I don't want people throwing away my bottle. That was I don't
The
want
logo
people.
is so pretty, that's why.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was just like, people are going to throw these away. That's what like when people see, at least around here, especially, you see a bottle, like that bottle, you're not saving it, you're throwing it in the trash. It's like a one use type thing. So that's where I'm trying to change people's perception, and encouraging them, like if you go to the grocery store and you get kombucha, bring that bottle and reuse it, bring it here and fill it
Exactly.
up and just, start doing things like that and changing the way that people are thinking about waste. The other reason that I decided not to do prepackaged bottling was that it's a lot of work. It's so easy for me to keg, fill kegs up and put them in the refrigerator, and you're done. But if you're bottling, you have to keg it first. Then you have to get all your bottles and fill each one up and cap them and label them. And I'm like, I'm a one woman show. Who the hell? I
Ain't
am
nobody got
not.
time for that shit.
Nobody has time for that. No way. And everybody kept saying, no, you can't do that. No one's gonna buy it. Like you have. And I did get a lot of people that were like, I'd have your kombucha, but only if you bottle it. And I'm like, sorry, not going to do it.
I would
And
be like,
so,
ew, then you're the type of person that I don't want having my product because
yeah,
you're just like everybody else. You're
yeah,
going to go
that's,
you're probably littering right now.
yeah, you
You're not
litter, I
reusing
do.
anything like
I
that.
know who you are.
Yeah, I know who you are, and I'm glad that I'm not selling to you. Next. No, and I
Exactly.
totally respect that. And one of the reasons why, well, a lot of reasons too. One, you're reducing waste. There's a lot of companies that are jumping on the bandwagon as well. Like you have to buy a reusable cup and you bring it back. Some places you refill your coffee. Well, they'll give you a new cup with your coffee in it, and you give them back your cup, and then I think you get like a dollar discount. I've seen it somewhere on some social media. In exchange, you get like a new cup or a new glass bottle, something like that. Or like you said yourself, you get to come back and refill it, and you're on your way, and you don't have to worry about anything else because you know it's yours, it's safe, essentially, and you move
Yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah, so that was kind of one of the things. So what we have, we've got 11 what we call fill stations across Northeast Kansas now. And
And what
basically
are those?
the businesses, they either rent a kegerator from me or they purchase one themselves, and then it'll just be like what you'd see in a bar. So it has two taps. So it'll be able to hold two different flavors, and you can bring your bottle in, or you purchase a bottle from the business, and then you can go fill it up and pay for it. And then when you're done, you bring your bottle back and refill it. And I'm like, I see these all the time. I see these in bigger cities everywhere, but people here were just kind of like, okay, we don't know. Like, no one's going to come in here. Like, how are we going to clean it? And I'm like, I'll be coming in and I'll do regular maintenance on it. I'll be cleaning it. I'll give you guys daily cleaning instructions. The price points are really good. I mean, the profit margins on those kinds of systems, and encouraging people to come back and refill. I'm like, you'll get repeat customers because I already have a really great following, and people want more options for being able to get kombucha instead of going to the farmer's market. And so they've seen increased sales because if you're going to come in and fill your bottle up, you're probably going to buy something while you're there. And
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
yeah, and so people are catching on, and there's other kombucha companies here in Northeast Kansas too. And so they're doing similar things. And so it's becoming more like people are understanding, they're seeing the concept, and they're kind of coming on board. So it's been really, really nice. But it's been a lot of work for sure, trying to educate and let people know, like, this is going to be a big thing. And so what I'm working on now is trying to get breweries to get kombucha. We've got several in Topeka, and I cannot get them to get on board. And I'm like, if you go to Denver or you go to Phoenix or you go to California and you go into a brewery, I bet you that a majority of them have some kind of kombucha on tap.
Oh, there's
Because
a ton
not
of them. All the craft beer places out here at least
exactly,
have one on tap. And
exactly.
and I've never even, well, like I said, aside from my story that I told you earlier, I never even thought of going out and getting kombucha that has the actual alcohol content in there until I
Yeah,
did. And then it was
yeah.
amazing. And then I had like this, the whole vinegary alcoholic taste and a buzz at the same time. So it was like,
It's
it
like
was great.
perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. And
Oh,
so as far as that part there, do you make an alcoholic one?
no, I don't. I have tried and failed miserably, and I was just like, I don't know. Someday I might try, because nobody was doing it out here at the time. I think there's one kombucha company that has been toying with alcoholic kombucha, but I was like, I could be the first one. I want to do this, but no, it's not in the cards, I don't think, for me. I don't get it. I tried like 5 different recipes, and I'm like,
Well, we're
so
we're going to manifest that you are going to get into a brewery, and then that your uh, alcoholic kombucha is going to come soon. So we're
yes.
putting it out there
Okay.
in the universe,
Thank you.
and it's going
You
to
know,
come.
yeah, and I've approached several breweries, and I'm like, let's do a kombucha beer. Like, let's do a collaboration. And so far no one's jumped on board with that either. But I think that would be so cool because there's just these little craft breweries, and they're just fun people. And I'm like, we could even brew it at my place, at my kitchen
Yeah.
or something, but anyhow, I'm going to still work on them with that too. But I have been, we just had a growers market at Happy Bassett, which is a small brewery here. And it was just so happened that it was most of the farmers, which are badasses, by the way, the farmers that I work with. And they're just like an awesome group of people and totally different from what I envisioned when I started. I thought I was like going to be dealing with like these grumpy men and, you know, these old guys in their little overalls. But most of the
They
farmers,
probably have something fermented themselves in the back, so they're probably
yeah,
happy for a reason.
they do, yeah, exactly. But most of them are really young and they're just fun people. And so anyhow, they got into, one of them encouraged this brewery to do like a growers market. So it's like a small farmers market with just like all these really fun farms and items and things like that. So that was kind of, hopefully that market will eventually get me into that brewery is my hope in the future.
And it will. Like if you
Yeah.
just keep putting it out there, it definitely will. I really believe in that. So
Yeah.
fast forward, you have your 5-year plan, didn't go with the green mean machine truck. And then
Right.
after that, you stopped chasing lizards and their habitat and whatnot. You got into the kombucha game, failed miserably at trying to make alcoholic for kombucha. But on the flip side, the positive side is that your following is coming up. Everything is all obviously by word of mouth. So I mean that's pretty awesome and that's like an amazing journey. And how long do you think it took? Did it take the full 5 years? Was it a little bit less than that?
So, well, it did take about 5 years before I was ready to launch, like actually start the whole entire process. And so once that 5 year hit, now I've been in business for 3 years. So yeah, my 5 year plan was just working up to starting the business. And that did take about 5 years.
To overcome the fear to actually do it.
Yeah. And quit my job, which was like, you know, which I loved. And, you know, I went to school for so long just to be in that position. And so to try to make such a big transition and then move back home and get some stability. And there was things I wanted, like, I'm like, I need to own my own home. No one's going to sell me a home when I'm poor as hell trying to start a business, you know, and have zero income. So there was like little things during that 5 year plan that I kind of like tried to accomplish. Not initial, like that was never my plan, was to buy a house or anything at the time. But as I was working on my business, I'm like, I need to get that done. And I found a perfect house for me. So anyways, yeah, there were just little things like that. But once I started the business, I mean, it's been so cool. It's really been rewarding because I've been able to stick to my values, you know, and like the things
You're doing what you love.
Yeah.
You're doing something that you love.
Absolutely. And the opportunities, I mean, just being a Native-owned business, and we're the only Native-owned, at least self-identified Native-owned kombucha company in the world, because we're part of Kombucha Brewers International. And so I visited with the president and I'm like, are there any other kombucha companies that are Native-owned? And she's like, you're the only one. And I'm like, what? So
the first.
Yeah, the
and
first.
Only one. You hold that title.
I know. I'm like, oh my God. But anyhow, just having that, like, so we've been able to, we got trademarked through American Indian Foods.
Wow.
And that's
how was that?
That was awesome. I had a friend, Charlotte, and Jack Strong. He's a Native chef. And he was like, when I was just starting my business and I was out visiting them in Siletz, Oregon, and he was like, you need to get involved with these guys. They'll really help you like formulate a business plan, you know, and expand and get into different markets. And so I did. And this year we went to Chicago to the Food Expo, and it was like the biggest, it was a restaurant expo, and it's the biggest in the whole United States. And we're the only kombucha company there. My little tiny little company is the only one there. And there were so many people that were interested. And I'm like, there's such a huge market out there, but it doesn't matter if you're not there.
You were
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's the point of it all. That's the best part, is that you were there and nobody else was there. No matter like how popular, what name brand, they have, it really doesn't matter because you showed up.
And I was like, but what was so crazy to me is that we had so many native owned businesses and casinos and, tribal governments and coming over to the booth and they're like, we would love your kombucha there, here on a reservation or, in our convenience stores. And I just am like, that's where I'd really want to market to, I'd rather I'm not trying, I didn't ever go into business to try to be huge and rich and, like have a ton of employees and things. I just want to be able to like live out my dream and, show my daughter and then my nephews, like, you guys can do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter what you've accomplished in life so far. Like you can do whatever you want and just be able to live the life that I want to live. And so I'm like, I really would like to focus on and connect with other tribes and try to have my kombucha there. And there's actually, I haven't connected with this guy yet, but I know that there's a guy that does distribution and he's a native owned distributor, I guess, and he distributes native products. And so I want to connect with him here soon and see about some kind of collaboration or some kind of work arrangement where maybe he can get my product to tribes. And maybe that be
Well, what's his name? Put it out here.
I know. I don't even know his name. I have to look. I gotta
We'll
look
find
at my
it.
notes.
But that's pretty awesome. I think that you staying in Indian country would definitely blow up, a lot more and faster than it would be in
Yeah, it
the
makes
outsiders world. So, I
exactly.
mean, I'm not sure if you've heard of Bow and Arrow, but that's a native women owned brewery. That's out of New Mexico. When I
Yeah.
first seen them, I was like, oh my God, these beautiful indigenous women are making beer. I had to go there. So I
Did
went,
you?
oh my gosh, yes, I did. So it was kind of like a good story and a bad story, but I went to Native Women Lead last year or this past year.
Oh my
I think it
God,
was like
I
in
want to go
April.
to that.
It is so
Yes.
amazing. Let's meet next year. We'll totally hang out, whatnot. But the seminars there, I mean, they're pretty awesome. But I went there and I had no idea what to expect. No clue where I was. It looked kind of run down, but I was staying right there. But
Yeah.
we were all hanging. I met some pretty rad gals out there, and we were all just hanging out at some bars and whatnot. And by the time we got there to the Bow and Arrow Brewery, uh, it was closing down. So, but I did get my growler filled. My sister had bought it for me, not to, or because she met them. Uh, but yeah, it was pretty amazing. So they have that there. I don't know, maybe there could be like a collaboration one day or something.
That would be amazing. Yes, I
Right?
follow them too. And I'm like,
Gosh,
oh my God, I have to get out there. Yeah.
exactly.
And that,
But then I also was going to say is that from my reservation, Fort Yuma Kotzan tribe out in California, well, a guy by the name of Romero, grew up with him in school, but he just opened up his own brewery as well, called Red Moon Ale Brewery, I believe it is. But yeah, so, and then there's another guy by the name of Tudor Montague. He has his own coffee, or he gets it from all over the place, from all these indigenous places, and he does his own roasting and whatnot. And
oh yeah.
yeah, so he has that, but he finally got, or he just got a cold tap in Romero's brewery. So that's, I mean, all this collaboration with all these natives everywhere. I mean, anything can happen.
Anything. That's so true. Yeah, I give a percentage of all our sales go back into Native communities. And so just a few months ago, we made a donation to Native Women Lead. And I really, really want to go.
The
I didn't
founders are
realize.
awesome. Yeah. They
Ah,
have it every year. So this year was the second one. I'm totally going to every one that they ever have ever again, because
so are
there
you
is just,
going?
it's a forever thing.
Oh, I'm so mad I didn't. Yeah, I saw it last year, but I guess I just haven't been keeping up with.
Yeah, we'll see you next year at that one. As
But
as far as like your journey and what it is that you're wanting to accomplish, your future goals is obviously to work with other indigenous tribal entities around the country or maybe globally Would that be something that you would agree with?
Yeah, I mean, globally, I don't know, but
Sky's the
definitely.
limit here.
Yeah, yes, maybe. But no, definitely collaborating with other native owned businesses. I have ideas, yeah, having like a kombucha beer with a native owned brewery, that would be awesome. If there's somebody that's making soap, doing kombucha soap or like a kombucha. I mean, there's so many like fun things that we could do. And I mean I'm all about collaborating. And I really, being in Kansas, there's a few native owned companies and businesses around here, but I really want to get out and meet more people. And
Definitely. And as far as soap as well, like anything that is associated with that, there's another company called Bison Star Naturals. Amazing. They make
yes,
their own soaps. I just ordered a ton of stuff. Well, not a ton. I ordered what I could.
yeah,
uh, so, I, so I ordered what I could from them. They're super nice people. I'll be talking with them soon as well. So I mean, that
yeah.
definitely get in
Tell
touch
them
with
I
them,
said
and
hi.
then I will.
I
I will.
did.
I'll pass your information along, and then I'm not sure if you've ever seen her, but well, she's based out of New Mexico right now. She has her own line she makes perfumes, oils, soaps, lotions, everything. Her name is Ari Lauren. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different opportunities out here. And for you being a young business and still growing and still learning and still making all these contacts, I mean, you can go anywhere and do anything. And so I just really appreciate the time that you've taken out of your day to spend with me. So
I
you're one of my favorite people to follow, and I'll continue supporting you. I really wish that we were able to get your kombucha out here, or that we could, like send it in the mail.
Yeah, I will. Well, see, I'm gonna send a Jacqueline. I've been communicating with Jackie from Bison, yeah, Star Naturals, and I just got my first little shipment. But I'm sending her T-shirts and kombucha here soon, and so I can send
Cool.
you some
Yeah, I'm
stuff
here
too.
for it.
Yeah, and then you can try it out and see.
Is there anything that you wish that you would have known when you started out?
The one thing I've learned is I have to step outside of my comfort zone. I'm not like a public speaker type of person, and it's hard with being like self promotion too. That's been really difficult for me. It's more of like lessons learned instead of not necessarily just like what do I wish I knew then that I know now, but I
So you
just
just respect the whole process that you've been going through and that you're doing.
absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely do. And it just, so just trying to market. And I looked at my brothers are 25. They're a lot younger than I am. And so they were
They're
like,
helping you along.
yeah, they really did. And they're like, you need to let people know who you are. And I think that's was like, really, people want to know. And so it's, I put more pictures, I put more information about who I am. And I think that really has made a huge difference because it connects people to not just your brand, but to you. And they may, I think people like to know who they're dealing with, and it helps with
Exactly, and that's why they
support.
keep coming back.
Yeah, definitely. So, try to, as best as you can, make a plan, reach out to local, either whether it be business owners or like I use the Washburn University. They have a small business development center and they have free workshops. There are so many free resources out there for people who are wanting to start a business, and take those classes, take those workshops, take advantage of networking in any capacity that you can. Show up at little conferences or get involved with small business groups, because there's so many of them. Be patient too. I've built my business and I've just kind of moved along at the pace that I like, which is a little bit slower than some people. And I've seen people just dive right in and have really successful businesses. But being a single mom, having another job, I needed some stability and make sure that for me, I like to move a little bit slower. Jumping in isn't necessarily a bad thing too, but I like to have a plan myself and try to reach, set goals and reach goals really go and talk with other business owners, people who are doing something similar, or maybe not even similar, but they're in the same kind of industry, that you could get advice from on how maybe they started out. But having some patience too, because everything is not going to go exactly the way you want it at exactly the moment you want it, and you're going to miss your, these little benchmarks that that you've set for yourself. But a lot of those setbacks are blessings, like in disguise. And so when I started, I was like, okay, by March I'm going to have this in place, and by June I'm going to be doing this. And I would miss those marks, and I'm like, what the heck, this is going so much slower. But then when it finally got done, something else came along with it, that if I would have had it done in March, I would have missed this opportunity for extra money or this extra exposure that I never had before. And so that's one thing I learned, is that everything happens for a reason, even those setbacks. And you just need to take advantage of them and see them for what they are. So
that is great advice to go by. And everyone moves at their own pace. Some like to dive in, like you just said, and some like to think it out and have a little bit longer of a plan to reach those small goals and bigger goals. Thank you for joining me here today, talking about Morning Light Kombucha. Tell us how we can find you.
So you can visit our website at morninglightkombucha.com, and you can message me there. You can reach me on our social media platforms. We have Facebook and Instagram under Morning Light Kombucha. You can contact me there. Or if you're ever in Kansas, reach out to me, message me. I will meet with you. I will bring you kombucha. And if you need to visit, we love company. So we'll feed you. Just let us know you're passing through. And so we've got some good hospitality here. And we would love to collaborate. If there's anybody out there that's wanting to learn more about business or interested in collaborating, that would be awesome. And if there's any of you native farmers out there, we would love to talk with you. We really, at some point, would love to come out and harvest with you, and maybe do some really fun kombuchas that are really centered on some tribes, what they have growing, their natives, like their native foods and things like that. So that's something that I really am interested in doing in the future. So
find her, connect with her. She is here for the long haul. So thank you for joining me. My name is Lena, and I'm from the Fort Yuma Quetzal tribe, your host on Rezzilient. This podcast is brought to you by Quetzal Media, Inc. Together we are planting a seed that will start a movement amongst Quetzal people and every indigenous individual. You can find us on Facebook at Quetzal Media, Inc. or follow me on the gram at Rezzilient. Check us out.
There were people here. And these people that lived here, basically, there were many cultures and many languages. But they were the people of this land base. And almost universally within this concept, they always referred to themselves in their own languages or culture as the people, the human beings. But that was always a part of the self-identification, the identification of self, the people. And the Europeans came and they refused to recognize us as the people. They called us Indian.